Over these last months, we've been exploring several sublime paradoxes, and now we've embarked on another exploration. Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. But we can ask ourselves, is this a paradox? Is it a conundrum? Is it a riddle? If it's a paradox, it can be reconciled. If it's a conundrum or a puzzle, we can take it apart and put it together again so that we might have an understanding of it. If it's a riddle, then we need to use water to take water out of the ear, so to speak, and use riddles to solve the riddle. Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. There's that old anecdote, Zen anecdote, the true story of the time when the fifth Zen patriarch needed to find his successor. And so he called the head monk to him and invited him to write something on the wall. And so the head monk wrote on the wall, "The body is a Bodhi tree, the mind a mirror bright. We carefully clean it hour by hour to let no dust alight." Of course, it was supposed that this sublime saying would render the head monk the successor to become the sixth patriarch. But the kitchen monk, Huineng, who'd served in the kitchen for many decades, stirring the rice, cooking the simple fare of the monks, happened to walk by and read what was written, and taking a piece of chalk, he drew a line through what was written, and he wrote, "There is no Bodhi tree, nor mind of mirror bright. When everything is emptiness, where can the dust alight?" Then there's a story of a man who had 2 sons. And the eldest son was very intelligent, very, very bright and clever. But the second son was thought to be stupid and ignorant. He could not understand anything. So the tasks were given to the elder son, and the younger son was pretty much ignored, considered to be absolutely stupid and unteachable. He couldn't do even the simplest of tasks. Now, when the elder son was asked to go and do an errand in the evening time, especially when it came to night time, the eldest son would say, "I don't want to do that, it's creepy." And when they were sitting around by the fire at night and the old grandfather would tell stories, horror stories, ghost stories, the eldest son would say, "Oh, I don't like that, gives me the creeps." So the younger son, sitting in the corner, would think to himself, I wonder what this creeps is. I wonder if I learn the creeps, maybe I can fit into the world. So one day he asked his father, Father, will you teach me the creeps? His father said, oh, you're a stupid boy, You're as stupid as I think you are. You're worth nothing. Creeps, he said. So he said, get out of the house. But anyway, at that time, the local priest came by, and the father was complaining to the priest about his son, how stupid he was, and how he told him to get out of the house. Did you know what he said? He said he wants to learn the creeps so that he can become a worthwhile person in the world. Oh, said the priest, I can teach him the creeps. Let him come with me for a while. So the younger son went off to the priest's house. So the priest said, I'll teach him. So he took him right up into the bell tower, where the bell was rung. And he taught him how to ring the bell. But after a couple of days, the priest said, I'll teach him the creeps. So when the boy was up in the bell tower, the priest came along wearing a white sheet and stood at the top of the stairs. And when the young boy saw him, he said, who are you? What do you want? What are you doing here? And the priest thought, well, if he stands very still, then the boy will think he's a ghost. But the boy again said, who are you? What are you doing? If you don't tell me who you are, I'll push you down the stairs. But the priest said, oh, I'll just keep pretending I'm a ghost. But the boy, because there was no movement, went over and gave him a big shove. So, of course, the priest fell right down the stairs, didn't he? So the boy finished ringing the bell, and he went off back to his room and went to sleep. But, of course, the priest's wife wondered where her husband had gotten to. So she went and asked the boy, have you seen my husband? And he said, well, I haven't seen your husband, but I was up in the bell tower, and I thought it was a ghost up there, and so I pushed it down the stairs. So, of course, the wife of the priest goes over and finds her husband at the bottom of the stairs with a broken leg. And so, she railed against this boy. Look what this boy has done. We can't have him in our house anymore. Look, he broke my husband's leg. Let him go. So the boy went off wandering down the road, shaking his head. Well, I wonder what these creeps are. I have to learn creepy. So, as it happened, he came to a farmhouse, and the farmer gave him hospitality and he asked him what he was on about. And the boy said, well, I'm wanting to learn the creeps. What's creepy? The farmer said, oh, well, if you want to learn creepy, I'll tell you where to go. His wife said, no, you put the boy in danger, don't send him there. But, the farmer was determined, and he said to the boy, well, there's a haunted castle not far from here. And the king has said, whoever can get rid of those ghosts that are haunting this castle can have the princess's hand in marriage and wealth of his kingdom. So the young lad goes off, and the king takes a liking to him for some reason or other. Maybe it was his innocence and simplicity. Who knows what that was. But anyway, the king said, yes, well, give it a go. If you can stay in this castle for 3 nights, and get rid of those ghosts, you can indeed have my daughter's hand in marriage. So off he went to the castle. Well, it's a long story about those 3 nights, because those 3 nights was he bedevilled by ghosts and ghouls and all kinds of dreadful sounds. There came wailings and curdlings and all of those things that go with haunted castles. But this young man was, every day he would wake up and he said, well, I didn't get the creeps. I haven't learned what creepy is. But after the 3 days, the king came along and he could feel and see that there were no more ghosts and ghouls and goblins and sounds around. So he was very, very pleased that his castle was now rid of all of these demons and the like. So he had to fulfill his promise of giving his daughter's hand in marriage to the young man, which he did. So the young man married the princess. And they were very happy. They fell in love. But you know, the princess got really tired of her husband saying, I wish I could learn what was creepy. I wish I could learn the creeps. So one night she got up and she said, I'll teach him the creeps. So she went out with a bucket to the pond that was behind the castle, and she dipped the bucket in the cold water and took up a whole bucket full of little tiny minnow fish. And she went back to now the prince's chamber, and she pulled off the bedclothes and she threw the cold water with all the fish all over him. The little fish went crawling all over. He said, I've got the creeps, I'm creepy. Now I know what creeps and creepy is. So what is, when we look at this and we're looking to explore this statement, form is emptiness and emptiness is form. Is it a paradox? Is it a conundrum, a puzzle? Is it a riddle? Or is it something else? What clue does this story give us? What does it tell us relative to the solving or the exploration, the knowing of this statement? Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. What was it about this story? Gives us a clue. Oh, that feels, oh, I get the creeps. Ooh. What is it that we've discovered for ourselves?
When you look at form and emptiness, and you look at their story, then what they were trying to do is teach him something, and they knew what he had to learn, which was the form. But he didn't understand what form was, and so he had no idea of what he was meant to learn. And so, because he had no idea of what he was meant to learn, he didn't know what it was. And so, trying to pass a concept onto someone sometimes is very, very difficult.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, and so he stayed in emptiness.
Oh.
There's no fear.
No fear.
I mean, it might be totally irrelevant, but something strange happened last night. Someone stayed with me, or my mum stayed with me. I I said, I'll leave Jasmine at home alone. And that was like, oh, should I do that and go to work for 2 hours? Is she old enough? And I was,